you guys, welcome back to another episode of the Jen Henry Experience. I am pleasantly
surprised.
I wasn't
surprised to be interviewing me today.
There you are. Hi. All right. Hey, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Jen Henry Experience. I'm so excited to have my friend and mentor, Alison Emery, here. She is the creator of the peer support system and the recovery model for the Riverside County Mental Health Department. And that program is actually still going strong, very strong. I know you're not there anymore, but you've laid a foundation for solid mental health recovery there in the county of Riverside. So share with us a little bit about what your experience was there and what they're still, how the program is still
Well, very briefly,
observed.
Many years ago, Riverside County was following what the rest of the world was doing pretty much in mental health treatment. And that was a medical model where medical professionals told the people who were receiving treatment what was wrong with them and how they were going to get it fixed and how they should live their lives. Because these poor people that were receiving mental health treatment weren't either well enough or smart enough or something enough in order to make decisions for themselves in their own treatment. So we came in and we shifted from the medical model into a recovery model, which puts the individual in the driver's seat. So that person gets to not only have a voice in their recovery, but they actually get to lead the show. It's pretty exciting. The people that are serving the folks are also in recovery. They're called peer support specialists or recovery coaches or peer counselors sometimes. And these are people with their own experience with mental health or addiction who have chosen a path of recovery and are now sharing that path with other people. And they're providing mental health services throughout Riverside County in a really powerful way. What's more powerful than working with someone that knows exactly what you're talking about because they've been in your shoes before? So we now, when I left, there was probably 200, 225 people that were in recovery working in the mental health department. Now that number is much larger, and we have peer support specialists working in almost every category of mental health treatment now, not just as peer support specialists, but they've moved into behavioral health specialists. They've become licensed clinical therapists. We've got people that are en route to want to be administrators in mental health departments. And so it's a very exciting movement that puts the patient or the person in the driver's seat, and the person that's helping them get where they're going is somebody that's been where they've been.
What a beautiful leeway into our topic of discussion today. Personal freedom, joy, true joy. Alison, like one of the things that I have always associated you two seeking is joy. Like one of the things that I remember you coming to me in the very beginning, and I just want to experience joy on like the very deepest level. Like I don't just want to be okay. I want to be joyous and free, and I want to be able to feel strong and capable and in the driver's seat. Like I'm in the driver's seat. But you weren't feeling that way so much. And so even though you were this incredible wellness professional and you were doing all of these things to help everybody else, what was happening to you?
Well, at the end of my career there, I was physically very, very ill. I was struggling to stay on work. The doctors didn't really know what was wrong with me. I was getting sicker and sicker, and still trying so hard to stay on the job and do the thing that I was so passionate about. And I eventually wound up fighting for my life in the hospital for a month. And following that, I just never was able to recover. And there was a situation around people that I had supported, not supporting me during this time. And I found that very personally devastating. So
So there was a lot of grief
There was
happening,
a lot of grief at
trauma.
that moment. Yeah, a lot of grief at that moment. And my body never really did rebound. And I just seemed to get sicker and sicker physically, more and more inbound. I think a little bit more hopeless. And it was not exactly what I wanted to be living. And I thought, okay, well, so I'm not going to be working in this program that I am so passionate about and believe so much in. And but can I still be happy? And those questions I started to ask myself in the years that followed that. And also it was a real reassessment of what I believed and what I knew to be true. And then a year and a half ago, as you know, I had just started down this path of going, okay, life isn't turning out the way I want it to. Can I still be happy? And if I can still be happy, what does that look like? And what does that feel like? And who's with me? And what am I doing? And so, I started some fearless pruning at that time, started pruning out things that were good things perhaps, but they were really keeping me from experiencing joy. And that's pretty much how that began. And then I met you about that time.
Isn't it funny how when we are clear on what we want, we start to see more clearly what isn't working to get us there, what is pulling us out of alignment, right? And so you said you started removing, pruning, as you will.
Fearless pruning,
clearing the clutter, right? Making space, creating space, right? Getting rid of the old to bring in the new. And so you went actively searching for something to fill that space that you were clearing out. And so we met.
Right.
And so you were on this mission. And what I have to preface is that I don't hunt down my clients, right? Like I do not go out looking for them. I present myself as authentically as I possibly can about who I am and who I serve and how I'm able to serve those people. And because of that, I met you.
Yes, isn't that wonderful?
And you walked and down we sat and we started to uncover some of the things that were really starting to keep you stuck. And more importantly, where you really wanted to go and what that actually looked like. And so when you started creating that vision of what it was that you wanted, that's when you had decided, okay, you said you wanted joy, but what is joy? What does joy mean to you? Does it mean, is it a blanket statement? Is it something that everyone should be able to experience? How were you able to find it?
Well, I think there's natural highs and lows of life. Mm-hmm. And as a human being, having the human being experience, it's going to be highs and lows. But for me, it was extremely high and extremely low. It was like major traumatic things and incredible victories. And I wanted something that looked a little bit more like this versus this. And of course, people usually take meds for those kinds of things, or they don't. My choice was to deal with these highs and lows by walking. And originally it started, I would be walking around my neighborhood, talking on the phone to supporters, to people that were helping me get through it. And so originally it was just by starting to move my body. And in moving my body, that's when the questions started. And I remember thinking, I just want to be happy. And, but what is happy? Really, what is happy? For me, happy is experiencing something and enjoying all of the little nuances of that thing to its fullest. And of course, you and I have talked about this before, but when I was so in the middle of it and so deeply entrenched, and there was so much depression, and there was some suicidal feelings as well back then. And I had read that happy people were grateful people. And I remember sitting there thinking, God, what do I have to be grateful for? Because it seemed like all the things that meant anything to me had been taken away. And I was sitting there holding a cup just like this and thinking about gratefulness and what could I be grateful for. And I took a sip of tea and it was sweet and it was cold. And I could feel it running down my throat. And I thought, okay, I'm grateful for this tea. I'm really grateful. And every day when I had my cup of tea or a glass of tea, I purposefully took a moment to taste it, to feel it, and to experience it, and to appreciate it, to express gratitude for it. And it seems like such a small thing, but it definitely opened the door for me, finding other things that I could be grateful for. And in those little moments, I could feel some happiness. And those little feelings of happiness eventually really grew to where I had peace most of the time. I felt happy a lot of the time. And much of the time, I had some joy too. And when I felt things coming in, impeding that, maybe it was someone in my ear talking to me, or maybe it was I ate something crappy and now I was feeling like shit, you know? But when those things impeded in my serenity, my peace, and even my joy, those things had to go.
I just love that you are sitting here describing the process in such a fluent way, because first you got in alignment, you got clear on what you wanted, and you started to identify with that. And in order to do that, you had to get connected. And so you started finding ways to get connected, to find gratitude, to be okay right now in the here and now without anything else, with just what you have in the moment, right? And able to come from that place. And then finding that, you know, being able to find that balance, figuring out what foods maybe worked for you and setting solid boundaries around that balance, finding out what people, places, and things were working towards you finding what joy and staying connected to and in alignment with joy or happiness. And you're able to now be living that life authentically. So tell me some of the things that you've uncovered, right? So you had these old stories that you were telling us, right?
Yeah.
That, you know, the world was bad, that people sucked because they take advantage of you, that they hurt you.
No one can be trusted.
No one can be trusted. What are some other old stories that you were like trying to break free from? Something that other people who are listening might identify with.
It was selfish to put myself first.
Selfish to put yourself first.
Yes.
Everyone else needed to be okay before you could be okay, right?
Exactly, 100%.
What else?
That God was standing up in heaven with an account sheet, taking notes of every bad thought and every wrong thing that I might. There was scorekeeping happening, right? And of course, I've come to learn now that that's not who He is. You know, He's a loving parent who adores me, and He actually wants me to be happy.
Oh, new stories. Okay.
New stories.
So you have a God that loves you and wants you to be happy. He's not scorekeeping. He's like one of those participation trophy kind of guys, right? Like he's like, yeah, buddy, you showed up, you did your best.
Oh,
like,
He still wants me to do my best every day.
He wants you to do your best every day, but it's not about win or lose. It's about the game, right?
It's not about the score.
Showing up and playing.
It's not about the score. It's about the joy of the game. Yes, it's the joy of the game. And, you know, so the fearless pruning came in really pretty quickly, and some of it happened without my permission. Somebody else started pruning before I was ready to start pruning. And
God does for us what we can't do for ourselves,
sometimes,
sweetheart. And the more that we're connected, and so this is something that we should touch on a little bit, because I don't want to brush over that. Sometimes there's things that come in and we get to decide if we want to keep that or not. But then there's things that just happen. And if we get to look at those things and find gratitude and joy, even in the things that we are uncertain of, even in the things that make us uncomfortable, that are unfamiliar, that are unexpected, we find joy in those surprises. How can I find this surprise, right?
Yeah.
A way that it works for me. How can I make it work for me instead of it being me becoming a victim of this circumstance?
100%. So sometimes these things do happen without our knowledge or consent. You know, a friend might betray you. You might lose a job. You could have to go on steroids and gain a lot of weight, even though you're doing absolutely everything you can to keep the weight off. These things just sometimes happen in life. So one of the questions is, and I'm telling myself some news stories around some of the other things that I'm fearlessly pruning out, like food. Okay. Like for me and my family and my culture, every celebration, there was food. If something went wrong, there was food, right? If you're busy, food, keep your energy up. If you were feeling lazy, food.
Well, and cigarette smokers, alcoholics, drug addicts, we all identify with that as well because, shopping, oh, we did this, gifts, shopping, money, it's not just food.
Yes.
But that is one way when we don't really realize that we've taken one addiction and replaced it, or celebration,
right.
or escape, or disconnection, or way to numb.
Yes.
Right. And we replace it with something else like food.
In my culture, it was food. Mm-hmm. Right. So now it's about how to celebrate life. What kind of celebrations can we do around activities that are not related to food? And now there are questions that I'm asking myself, like, will this food take me where I want to go? Will purchasing this item get me to my goal? Will introducing this person into my life move me forward or hold me back? So there's all of these questions that I'm asking myself
because
now.
You're getting curious.
Well, I'm curious, but I also know firmly that I want to experience joy in life. And this person might intrude with that, and this person might increase that.
So there's some things that could happen here, right? So when we start taking inspired action towards our goal, and we're starting to fearlessly prune, we're starting to really do the things and set the boundaries, create the balance. Sometimes it takes practice to recognize when someone is coming in and how we respond to their not responding well to our decisions, right? So for example, sometimes we will find ourselves self-sabotaging because someone else in our life doesn't agree with the decisions that we're making or the inspired action that we're taking.
Yes.
Right? They don't understand where our inspiration is coming from. They can't identify with where our inspiration is coming from. And so therefore they make us feel as if we are wrong. And then the self-doubt, the self-sabotage, I just want them to be okay. I don't want to cause problems. I don't want to cause conflict. And sometimes that can be relationship changing. And we still get to make that decision.
Relationship ending even.
That's right. Yeah, that's definitely a change.
Yeah.
It's a permanent change, but it's a change, right? And sometimes relationships just shift where you thought you were the best of friends and you realize, you know what? This is going to be one of those sisters that from a distance, I love you. And if it really comes down to it, I'll be there for you, but I don't really want to talk to you on a daily basis kind of thing. Or I really can't, or I don't really want to engage with the drama that you have unfolding because it doesn't add to my joy, right? Or I don't want to engage with your addictive behavior because it doesn't add to my recovery. Or I don't want to deal with your unhealthy relationships because it doesn't add to my security in my relationship.
Or maybe I do want to help you because helping you increases my joy.
If you want help. That's where I get to set the boundaries.
We each have to decide. We each get to decide that for ourselves.
Exactly.
So this concept of fearlessly pruning, it came to me years ago. My dad, after we moved here to the States from Samoa, we moved onto a large piece of property and we got to grow a lot of things. And one of the things that my dad tried to grow was fruit trees. And I remember him going in and cutting them back so far, I thought for sure they were going to die, right? It was going to kill them. But he explained to me that they had to be fearlessly pruned back so that they would bear large and sweet fruits. He explained to me if the tree just kept growing wild like that, eventually it would grow small, few unsweet fruit. And I saw evidence of that in nature around me. And so suddenly I realized, oh my gosh, what kind of a tree do I want to be? Do I want to be a tree that bears sweet, large, ripe fruit?
Right.
That's the kind of tree I want to be.
Which is where exactly I was saying, and I want to stay on that because I don't want to brush over. I can choose to help, but there's a big difference between helping and enabling. There's a big difference between if I have someone who's coming to me with the same problems over and over and over again, and they're not willing to do the work, I don't want to hear it anymore. I have to learn how to set that boundary. That next time it may be the time, but you can go to someone else then if you're really ready. When you are ready, the teacher appears, and we have proof of that with people in our lives.
And sometimes people want things from us that either we can't or shouldn't give.
They think that we are capable of it. And this is the thing. People want other people to get them their results.
Yeah.
And when you can't, for example, I'm going to give you an example. I have a woman who she says she wants to work with me, that she would give anything to work with me. But she won't give up her old stories. She won't give up her excuses. She won't give up her circumstances or the victimization of the circumstances. And what I mean by that is, oh, but I have my mother that I care for. And oh, but I have these kids that have relied on me for the last 25 years and they're adults, but they still need me. Or I'm the one who's responsible for driving everyone around all the time. So I can't or I can't I can't work out because I can't move my, right? And I just don't have the time. Those are all stories. You create your schedule every day, right?
Yes.
You choose how much effort you put into what you want.
For sure.
And you have taken the bull by the horn and you have decided what you wanted to experience. And you have gone through the uncomfortable action.
And there's more to come.
And grown from it and become this stronger version of yourself, become this very best version of yourself. And every day, even if it's not maybe what the day before looked like, and maybe sometimes it's 10 times better than what the day before looked like. And sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but having grace and being graceful with that dance with ourselves, right? Finding joy in the discomfort, finding joy in the darkness, finding joy in being able to set those solid boundaries and loving and nourishing myself enough, right? And speaking of nourishing, you've taken, the basics, breath, right? Sleep, and food, and made them one of the most important things, if not the most important things in your life. Whereas most people don't think about taking deep breaths. They don't breathe. They pant. That's why we have anxiety levels. They don't sleep. They don't put any thought to sleeping. It's just something that they try to do. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't. And maybe they try really, really hard to sleep, but can't because the other things in their life aren't balanced and they're not doing other things in their life that would help them lead to sleep. And then, or eating. It's such a not thought of, disconnected effort. There's such a disconnected action there. I gotta eat. It's literally the thing that sustains your life and well-being. It's literally the thing that feeds the cells that your body is created by. And yet it says, oh, I have to hurry up and do this. Or, oh, God, I have to make food. Or I have to, oh, God, you want me to eat a vegetable? I think about it. The more I think about it, well, the more I think about it, it's what self-loathing that is, right? When we come down to it, what lack of self-care and nurturing, right? We are looking everywhere else for nourishment and to be nurtured and to be told we're going to be okay. How are we going to be okay when we don't even want to feed our own damn selves, right? It's okay to feed everyone else, but not ourselves. It's okay
in every way,
right?
Not just food.
Yeah, exactly. So what am I purposely ingesting on a daily basis? Or am I getting my basics in that will sustain my life and my well-being, right? Am I breathing clean air outside? Am I moving my body? Am I eating clean food? Am I eating foods that my body recognizes and knows what to do with? Am I deciding every day who and what I'm going to be, right?
So for me, it was really important to identify what the things were that I needed to incur in my life in order to experience joy on a daily basis and to be well in every way.
We refer to those as non-negotiables.
Right. So for me,
what are the things that I have to have in place so that I can experience my goal?
Right. And for me, some of them were kind of eye-opening. For example, I found that I needed 8 to 10 hours of sleep every night. And I was getting 3 to 5 maybe. But that my body did best and I was able to experience happiness more regularly if I slept longer hours. That was one thing that surprised me. One thing that I'm finding that I have to do is some kind of physical activity. It doesn't have to be the same workout every day. I can go play pickleball or hike Mount Rubidoux or, go swimming or dance or whatever, but I need to break a sweat. I need to, I just need to feel the energy of my body. Sometimes if my body is sluggish and I don't start well, for me, here's a non-negotiable: up early and exercise. When I do those two things, especially hiking, if I can watch the sun come up, if I can do that, for me, that sets the day for a powerful, joy-filled day. When I don't do those, it's much more of a struggle. It's much more of a reach. It's much more of a pull. Another thing that I have to do is to ignore the little stuff. And I'm surprised how much of the stuff is little stuff. You know, this last presidential election did not go the way I wanted it to, but you know what? We're going to have a lot more presidents in the future, and okay, we have a president. You know, it's little stuff. My hair didn't come out right. Little stuff. My son isn't cooperating with me. Little stuff. I couldn't afford to get my hair done this month. Little stuff. You know, whatever it is, even the stuff that you think is kind of big, it's little stuff. For me, the big stuff is experiencing life to its fullest. And I mean, I have a hunger and a thirst right now for life that I've never had before.
It's beautiful.
You know, I want to see everything. I want to go everywhere. I want to touch everything. I want to smell all the good smells in the world. I want to eat all the kinds of food, even if it looks disgusting. I want to have that experience.
Yeah. That's personal freedom. And being able to feel comfortable enough in your own skin and powerful enough in your own mind to be able to go do those things without hesitation.
Right. So if that means I have to get 8 hours of sleep, I have to drink this much water, I have to take certain supplements, and I'll be real with you, I take supplements that help my brain chemistry purposefully. I take magnesium, I take potassium. These are things that will help my brain chemistry. I go in the sunlight because the sunlight helps my brain chemistry experiencing joy. I have exercise because that helps my brain chemistry. I eat certain foods because those foods are known to increasing the happy feelings in your brain, like blueberries and walnuts. These are things I eat on a regular basis, you know, and I have to take turmeric to keep the inflammation down in my body, and CBDs. And these are things which are non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Those are the big things. Everything else, little stuff.
So what, if someone's listening right now, or to those who are listening right now, what would you suggest be the first step for them?
Oh, I think that would depend on the person. If you are like me and you're deeply in hopelessness and do not see a reason for living and things have not gone your way, if you're in that position, the first thing that I would say is find something, anything, regardless of how small it is, that you can be grateful for. That would be the first thing. And then the second thing is identify the stinking thinking. Identify the things that are
the false stories,
the things that are keeping you from living life to its fullest.
And then change the story. Decide what you want instead.
Right. Because for me, I was completely imprisoned by the things that I believed. I mean, I was in prison to them.
Our beliefs create our identity, right? Our beliefs create our identity. If I believe this to be true to the world, like, what do I believe to be true about the world and how do I identify in that, right? If I believe that the world is chaotic, if I believe that the world has gone mad, if I believe that the world is out to get me, I'm going to probably identify as someone who either is going to have to go out swinging. There's going to be a couple different ways I can identify as a result of that, but they're not going to be healthy, right? Because I'm either going to identify as someone who has to always be at battle and at war, or I'm going to be always a victim and always hiding and always running and in fear.
And you made that point to me like straight out of the gate was you said, Alison, you identify as a sick person, but you're saying you want to be a joyful person. But you're identifying, why don't you stop identifying as that sick person? And for me, that was really a huge shift for me. And I thought, yeah, I am a sick person, but
it's a circumstance.
That's a circumstance. That's not who I am. Right. This is not a coat I'm going to wear.
That's like when people say, oh, she's fat or I'm fat. I'm like, well, then I'm muscle? I mean, stop. I'm skin and hair and nails. Like, that's not who you are. Right. Who are you identifying as?
So Alison has come back into the game. I mean, the real Alison, I'm not sure I was ever really in the game, you know, but I'm here to play, and it doesn't matter what hand I'm dealt. I'm going to play. This game the time is now. I can't sit around waiting for, to be 50 pounds less to go hiking. I can't wait around for this man to make me happy. I can't wait around for the money to roll in, and then I just can't be wasting any of that time anymore. I haven't got time for it. I have time for living victoriously. And the last year I found my path to doing that.
I love it.
And so today I am, 100 pounds lighter. I am able to walk 10 miles without breaking a sweat. I laugh every day on a regular basis. And thank God I'm self-aware enough to know when something is coming at me that's not good for me, I can leave. And I don't have to explain to anybody why I'm doing it. I can fearlessly prune without explanation at any time.
I can say no is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
No is a complete sentence. Thank you so much, Alison. I just am so proud of you. I'm so grateful that I've been able to have the experience or the opportunity to just be a guide on your journey, because you really are, you've become the hero of your own story. And it's just a beautiful thing to be witness to.
Thank you so much, Jen.
Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to having you again.
As always, I love spending time talking to you.
Yes, we'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Until next time.
Until next time.
All right. Bye-bye.